Baking soda, seriously, being a potential tool in helping with autoimmune disease? Yeah, I know. I have the same type of response, putting in a little bit what I call implicit bias in interjecting, so to say. If something is so simple and has been under our nose for so long, then obviously we would have researched it and utilized it by now. Henceforth, incorporating my own bias. So with that in mind, keep an open mind. This is pretty groundbreaking research into regard to something as simple and commonly available as baking soda. And if it works, who cares about the lack of research in the past? Let's continue with what happens today onward. And look at it from a logic standpoint. This is kind of like a modus ponens or modus ponens or modus tollens, where basically if A, then not B is your conditional statement. Henceforth, the inductive argument. With that in mind, keep an open mind. Let us proceed as follows with the study. Drinking baking soda could be an inexpensive, safe way to combat autoimmune disease. A daily dose of baking soda may help reduce, this is important, this is their own words, I'm just narrating, reduce the destructive inflammation of autoimmune disease like rheumatoid arthritis, quote the researchers. Also, before I proceed, this is not an instructional video. All we are doing is reviewing the research and the outcome. So, with that in mind, they have some of the first evidence of how the cheap, over-the-counter, antacid, don't like that word, but I don't want to incorporate publisher bias, can encourage our own spleen to promote instead an anti-inflammatory environment that could be therapeutic in the face of inflammatory disease. So you ever think of baking soda being anti-inflammatory, but it's really not an anti-inflammatory per se as much as promoting an anti-inflammatory environment. To proceed, drinking baking soda, the MSG scientists think, quote the researchers, tells the spleen, which is part of the immune system, which acts like a big blood filter and is where some of the white blood cells, like the macrophages, your choice, are stored to go easy on the immune response. Quote, certainly drinking bicarbonate affects the spleen, and we think, hypothetically, it's through the mesothelial cells, quote O'Connor, the researcher. The conversation, which occurs with the help of the chemical messenger acetylcholine, appears to promote a landscape that shifts against inflammation, they report. Now we'll go skip ahead a little bit and go a little more detailed in regard to the actual research itself. In the spleen, again we're skipping ahead, as the blood in the kidneys, they found after drinking water with baking soda for 2 weeks, the population of immune cells, once again called macrophages, shifted from primarily those that promote inflammation, classifying the macrophages, called M1, to those that reduce it, called M2. Macrophages, perhaps best known for their ability to consume garbage in the body like debris from injured or dead cells, are early arrivers to call for an immune response. When they looked at a rat model with actual kidney damage, they saw the same response. So, the basic scientists worked with the investigators at the Georgia Prevention Institute to bring in healthy medical students, not exactly a serious controlled study per se, but yet, baking soda, water, let's give it to our medical students and see what happens. Fun. Medical students who drank baking soda in a bottle of water also had a similar response to the animal model. The shift from inflammatory to an anti-inflammatory profile, the researcher quote, is happening everywhere. Quote, we saw it in the kidneys, we saw it in the spleen, now we see it in the peripheral blood. To conclude with the last paragraph, which is also quite intriguing as well. And keep in mind, I always list the DOI. You could go to the abstract, even though in order to see the full study here, unfortunately, it's something what I call a pay-per-view. $35 to see the whole article. Not my doing. That's just the way the research institutes work, even though it was funded through the National Institute of Health, this particular study. So, but let's proceed. The shifting landscape, quote the researcher, is likely due to increased conversion of some of the pro-inflammatory cells to anti-inflammatory. Remember, it's being hypothetical here. once coupled with actual production of more anti-inflammatory macrophages. The scientists also saw a shift in other immune cell types. This is where it can play a pretty solid role in regard to a whole slew of autoimmune diseases to proceed, like more regulatory T cells, which generally drive down the immune response and help keep the immune system from attacking our own tissues. The anti-inflammatory shift was sustained for at least 4 hours in humans. Again, I don't have the exact dosage or the amount of water drunk with the baking soda. They didn't list it in the abstract or the public release. If later on, if they do release that amount, I will basically edit that into the comment section of either YouTube, Vimeo, or wherever you see this video. That anti-inflammatory shift was sustained for at least 4 hours in humans and 3 days in the animal model, henceforth rats. So pretty amazing when you look at it as a whole. Something as simple and as common as baking soda, which has been under our noses for who knows how long, may be a very, very powerful and fairly non-toxic tool in regard to helping combat autoimmune diseases. Now, if this research is confirmed in further trials and so on and so forth, again, don't begin anything without working with your medical practitioner. It would just be astounding, amazing, inexpensive, and incredibly easy to utilize. Again, this is Ralph Church Channel signing off. Hope you find this information of use. DOI citations would be listed, which you can follow to yourself in the abstract and research more on your own here. Thank you very much. Catch you all again next week. See ya. Bye.